Welcome to Thoughts and Ideas with Abdullah Samir. Episode 1.
Hey, it's Abdullah Samir. I have a few updates and I thought it'd be nice to just do an informal style rant, every week, every couple of weeks on different topics. And a few things to update. First is I got the 23rd testimony now. Somebody messaged me on Facebook, a former atheist who converted to Islam, was Muslim for 5 years, and read my blog and decided to leave Islam. So it's number 23. And this is the 23rd person who left Islam through my efforts and directly contacted me. I'm really happy about that because, it's good to feel like you're making a change in the world, you're having an impact, you're able to help people, your work is actually doing something, right? And it's actually having some effect. So that's always a positive thing. You never know what impact you're having. And the fact there's 23 people that contacted me so far, that means there's actually a lot more than that, right? There's a lot more people that just never bothered to message me. They never email me. And so if you're one of those people that I helped, please, let me know. Go to abdullahsamir.com and let me know. I'll add you to the list. The list is mostly anonymous, unfortunately. People are not that comfortable always or able to come out with the name. There's a few people who actually put out the name. Majority are anonymous. So if you're willing to openly come out or not openly even, please contact me and I'll add you to the list. A couple of things on my mind. So that was the first thing. The second thing is, what is it that's helping me to have this impact? How am I able to do this? I personally think that one of the most important things is being honest and truthful and being nuanced, not, sticking to rhetoric, not being over the top. It's all too easy to throw out rhetoric and to try to be almost to get into a cult type of thinking. We ex-Muslims, we left one religion that had some cult-like behavior, characteristics. We don't want to join another atheist, cult. So it becomes a cult when you're not able to criticize somebody that's on your side, another fellow atheist. It becomes like a cult when you're not able to say certain things that are not considered acceptable to say. Sometimes you feel like you're in a cult because, for example, if you defend Muhammad, let's say somebody, as an example, someone says Muhammad's a pedophile. And my position on this is very controversial in the atheist community or the ex-Muslim community. I say he's not a pedophile because he only had one wife that was supposedly, 9 years old when he consummated the marriage. But there's no guarantee that was actually the case. I'm just going if you go based on the hadith, then yes. But from a historical perspective, the hadith don't have a lot of certainty. Right? There's a lot of doubt in the hadith literature. So we really don't know, the details, small details like that, how old she was. And there's alternate analysis done by different people that come up with an older age for her. So if you throw out the hadith, and then people will say, well, Muhammad, he's for all times, and he's a prophet. And I'm not even looking at that perspective. I'm just saying from a strictly historical, secular perspective, I wouldn't call him that. I think the term is achronistic. As I was saying, people back then, child marriage was a very common thing. Whereas pedophilia means, a sexual attraction towards, basically young men or women, right? So I don't think he fits into the mold because Muhammad had unlimited power. He could do whatever he wanted, no questions asked. Nobody would say anything to him. Even if they did, he always had Allah to come and defend him, like the Zainab example. He had Allah come and save him for marrying his adopted son's ex-wife, which was considered taboo at the time. So I don't think he was a pedophile. And that's my opinion. Yes, one of his marriages was to possibly a young girl. We don't know for sure. If it was, then we can condemn it. Bigger question is, about the Quran. Chapter 65, verse 4, allows marriage to young girls, allows divorce of young girls who you've had sex with. So that's very problematic. And that's something I think I'd rather focus on rather than whether this one man was doing what everybody else did at the time, married a young girl, right? And it was part of the life back then. There was a lot of war. There was a lot of, infant mortality was very high back then. All constant tribal warfare. So they got married to young girls who could have lots of babies. That's just how life was. I don't think that this was a sexual deviancy on his part. Anyways, so that's one thing. And I think, being able to say things like this gives you a lot of strength, because it shows that you're not just out to attack, but you want the truth. You're willing to say some things against your position in order to, for the larger picture. Does that mean I'm a Muslim? No, of course not. I don't believe he spoke to God. But as an atheist, I can say that I don't think he was Another interesting topic is the issue of Muslims in the world right now. The Muslims in China, in Rohingya. In Burma. The Rohingya and the Uyghurs. I don't know how to pronounce it. The ones in China that are being oppressed by the Chinese. They're being forced to dance and eat pork, and they can't fast in Ramadan, and it's basically a cultural genocide. And we have to, as people of conscience, people of goodness, we have to speak out against these things. We have to be against it, no matter, even if we don't like Islam, right? And so I feel like we have to stick up for these people, and we have to say this is wrong. What's happening to these people in China, these Muslims in China? The same thing with the Rohingya, right? In Burma, this is the way of Hitler, where what he did was he demonized the people, the Jewish people, and it's a common thing that when you eventually want to murder people, you start out by demonizing them. You demonize the culture. You say they're stealing our jobs, they're stealing our women, they're corrupting the pure culture, or in this case, the pure Buddhist culture, and then you kill them, right? It becomes so much easier to kill them because you see them like animals. So this is something we need to stand up against. We need to speak up against any sort of injustice, any sort of demonization of a people, even if they're Muslim and you don't like Islam, right? And it's this thing about collective guilt. It's almost like if you subscribe to a religion, by default you're guilty of ascribing of the worst things that are possibly allowed in that religion, which is not true. Human beings, none of us follow religion 100%, even religious followers. They throw out a lot of things, right? They throw out the things that are inconvenient for them, right? And we should support that, right? So at the same time, you can't throw them under the bus just because they're Muslim, right? So we need to speak up against the wholesale demonization of anybody, about the rights being taken away, about them being put into camps or whatever it is. We can't let this happen. We let it happen once under Hitler. And there were some people on the right side of history who were protecting the Jews and putting them in the basements and hiding them from the secret service of Hitler. And there were those who were involved in it, and they were just doing their job, right? We can't be those people that are just doing their job, that are just ignoring this, letting this happen. We have to speak up against this. We cannot let this happen. China is a country that is against pretty much all religion. They don't like any religion, really. But at the same time, they're definitely, picking out the Muslims, the Uyghurs, and they're making it a big issue for them because they want to separate. They want their own country. They want to separate from China. And there's a lot of power behind. They don't want that, right? They don't want that. They want them to be culturally assimilated. And so they're doing this like mandatory kind of cultural genocide, right? And cultural genocide is much more expensive and much more difficult to do than actual genocide. But you can do it under the radar. People don't notice what you're doing. Whereas like actual genocide, you know, there's graves. Nowadays there's a lot of people will take photos and videos and will expose you if you're like actually murdering people. So you know, as an atheist, as someone who believes in secularism, as someone who believes in liberalism and democracy and freedom of conscience, people with hearts, we all need to stand up against these oppressions all over the world. And yeah, that's basically it. That's what I want to talk about. Apologize for the little baby crying in between. I hope I didn't scare him too much or her with my talk about you know what. Anyways, take care and maybe see you next week. Bye.